beautiful people, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jennifer Diamond, and I'm a certified plant-based nutrition coach living a whole food, plant-exclusive, SOFAs-free, gluten-free lifestyle for health and well-being. And it literally gave me my life back, and I know it can help you with yours too. And today's show is a really special one, filled with hope and determination. I'm joined by Paul Chatlin, the founder of Plant-Based Support, PBS, formerly known as Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group, or PBNSG for short. It's one of the most inspiring and supportive communities in the plant-based world. And I recently had the opportunity to be a guest speaker several times, which is when I first learned of plant-based support. And when I first met Paul as well. So I was then offered a support group of my own on PBS, and I've been enjoying that, as well as getting to know so many motivated people, which made me want to share all about Paul and his fantastic group. So today we're going to meet and talk to Paul about how his personal story and journey to better health happened, and how and why plant-based support started, why connection and community are such powerful parts of the healing process, and how this organization continues to empower people across the country to take charge of their health naturally through the whole food, plant-based eating and lifestyle. So I want you to settle in and join us for this heartfelt conversation about healing, hope, and the power of plants. So please help me welcome Paul Chatlin to the show. Hi, Paul.
Oh, hi. How you doing, everyone? Hello. Hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I just want to say this is actually our first time meeting face to face, but I've had many emails from you and some text messages, and you are such a supportive and welcoming person. That's how I felt immediately.
Well, thank you. I've been called everyone's father.
I love it.
I
love it.
I mean, my job is full of just support and encouragement, because lifestyle change is not easy.
It's not easy. Well, I want to just take a moment just to say hello to people in the chat. I want to also remind people in the chat, you can make comments, ask questions. We will get to them as soon as we can. We love the interaction that live offers. So please don't be shy. We want to connect with you. And if you're watching this as a replay, then you can still ask the questions and make comments, and we will respond to those as well. So let me just check the chat here and just say hello. We have Jill Caperton. Hi, Jill. Mona's here. Hello, Mona. So glad to see you guys. John Jew, hello, welcome. He says, hi, Jennifer and Todd. Welcome, Paul. Hello, everyone. And everyone is saying hi to you, Paul. So I would love it if you would start with your story, and let's just go back to the beginning and, sharing what was going on with you, and like the moment when you first realized, wow, you needed to make a change for your health.
Yeah. Before I start, I need to at least explain. The name is Plant-Based Support, and everyone, you'll get a little chuckle out of this. If we use PBS, I could get in big trouble. So we got to keep on saying to everybody, because I sometimes say, hey, it's PBS, but then, oh, you're part of the public broadcasting system. No. Plant-based support. So there you have it. Okay. So
plant-based support. Plant-based support. Yes. Thank you for making me aware of that.
Because I might forget and then I'll get in trouble. But I'm going to show you a quick picture and then I'll show you that in a minute. All right. So and thank you for having me. And please, anybody has any questions, I've been doing this for 13 plus years, and I've got a lot of answers, and I don't mind sharing with you. I want to share them with you. All right. So I was 54 years young, and really the story truly starts as a young man. In between the ages of 10 and 12, my dad and his three brothers all needed triple or quadruple bypass surgery. And my family was based on my dad and his brothers. And, as a young man, we had 19 cousins. I was one of three male cousins. So I got special treatment. Plus, I was that middle cousin, which, I was pretty random all the time, but these were the men of my life that I looked up to and loved. And during that 3, 4 year period, two of the four never made it off the operating table. My favorite uncle never made it out of uh, a home because he lost his mind. And my dad, who I'd never seen shed a tear, he made it, but cried for 3 days straight. And that was my memory. Now, it, we could fast forward a little bit here. I'm a father of 3 boys. And at the age of 54 years old, I remember waking up one morning and feeling a real serious pain in my chest. And not at that point, 40 years had passed. I still didn't put things together that, oh my gosh, maybe I'm having a heart attack. Maybe there's something wrong. I just said, well, I'll just lay here in bed for a little bit longer and it'll go away. And sure enough, it did. The problem was that every day for the next 2 months, I would have that same chest pain. And again, I'm just a regular guy. I said, sooner or later it'll go away. I didn't really seek any help because it went away every day. And, at that point, I was a power lifter and I weighed 225 pounds and I was working out and I was eating a lot. So I didn't put them all together. And then I remember being at a meeting at work and I started sweating and I excused myself and I literally could not take 7 steps outside the door. And I just stopped right there. And I'm like, I need to go see somebody now. This is really hurting me. So after a little bit, the pain went away and I went and saw my general physician and he heard a heart murmur that he had not heard before. And he immediately said, I'm going to send you tomorrow to my recommended cardiologist. We're going to have to do a whole bunch of tests. So again, this was my journey at that moment. I hadn't shared it with anybody, including my wife, because I thought maybe it won't be a big deal. I don't want to alarm people. So the next day, I go see the cardiologist and I had every test except for the heart catheter and a heart biopsy. And this is a doctor who had been a cardiologist for some 30 years. And he said, Paul, we're going to have the heart catheter tomorrow and the biopsy the following day. But my experience is you either need a heart transplant or immediate bypass surgery. Now, the bypass surgery was something that no one wants to hear, but when someone says you need a heart transplant, from his experience, what did I know? On the way home that day, I stopped at my wife's office and I said, I need to talk to you in your conference room. And I sat her down and I said how sorry I was. I didn't involve her, but I was hoping to spare her. And I explained what was going on. And my loving wife just started crying. And her boss heard it, walked in and said, what's going on? And we explained it to him as to what was going on. And he said, just stay right there. And after about 40 minutes, he said, I got you an appointment tomorrow at the Cleveland Clinic. So I canceled the one at the local Beaumont Hospital. And in the morning, my wife Tracy and I drove up to the Cleveland Clinic. And in one full day, I got all the tests that I had the day before, along with heart catheter, heart biopsy. But the doctor they assigned me was a heart transplant doctor. So I spent the day doing those tests, and then I went and got the heart catheter. And it's so shocking because I had not been in that type of hospital setting before that I could remember, with all the monitors. And, they had me prepped for surgery. So shaven top to bottom. And I remember at the heart catheter lab, my doctor saying, yes, 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 yes. And I'm like, I could barely understood because I was in twilight. And I said, why were you going yes, yes, yes? And he says, well, the good news is you don't need a heart transplant, but you have 100% block in your right artery. The other two are 75% blocked. You're going to need immediate bypass surgery. So I remember sitting there, just saying, like, hey, whatever I do, because all of a sudden I'm starting to think about my dad and my uncles and that moment in my life some 40 years earlier. And I kept saying, just whatever I do, wake up. Like whatever happens, I kept saying, wake up. And if I do wake up, I said, And I'm, like you remember, everybody is like a child. You sit there and say, God, if you get me out of this situation, I owe you one. And here I was, a 54-year-old man going, God, if you get me out of the situation, I will serve you. And it wasn't like another 10 minutes. I'm being wheeled in for bypass surgery. And the doctor goes, we're right at the door of the surgical ward. And he says, you know what? I've only offered this to one other person in 20 years, but would you consider a lifestyle change? And maybe you don't need the bypass surgery today. And I said, oh, yeah, yes. Well, you got to remember, I didn't know what lifestyle change was. I just knew that I didn't want to have the surgery. So he then said, okay, I'm going to wheel you back. And as he's wheeling me back, he's dialing his cell phone, and he hands me his phone. He says, I want you to talk to somebody. And my first days in the plant-based world were miracles. Getting into the Cleveland Clinic, having this cardiologist at the Cleveland Clinic see something in me that he was willing to offer up a lifestyle change. Again, didn't know what it was. And then he hands me the phone, and on the other side of the phone is Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. I had never met my doctor until that day. I had never been to the Cleveland Clinic until that day. I had never heard of Dr. Esselstyn. So Dr. Esselstyn says, go on home and I'll give you a call in the morning. So, we had to do some recovery, and got home that day at about 3 a.m. And sure enough, at 7 a.m., he's calling me, and he said, I want you to go get this book. I want you to read it end to end. He spent about an hour on the phone with me. And he says, this is what you can eat. Oh, this is the lifestyle moment, change moment. This is what you can have, and this is what you can't have. And I'm like, wait a second. I love my meats and my dairy and, all that stuff. But I love oil. Are you kidding me? And he says, well, if you don't do it, you're going to have bypass. And I said, hey, the Lord got me out of this thing, and I'm more of a spiritual person than a religious person. But I said, you know what? I could do anything for 60 days. But keep in mind, it wasn't just that I had a right artery that was fully blocked. I had a left bundle block, a heart murmur, scarsidosis of the right side of the artery. And also I had an enlarged heart and leaky valve. So I was a hot mess. And the only way they could, reduce the size of the heart being a muscle, is they put me on these crazy sleep drugs. And I was sleeping 16 hours a day for the next, it seemed like 2 months. So all this inactivity, allowed the heart to shrink, the valves not to bleed as much or hardly at all. And all of a sudden I started feeling better. So I'm going to now show everybody, well, this is what I used to look like. So I hope you can appreciate this. Yeah, that's me. All right. Okay.
Wow.
So a couple of amazing things happened. First, I got a lot of sleep. Secondly, when I woke up, all I could do was eat. I had to eat. The problem was, when you think back, 13 plus years ago, there were only a few cookbooks, and there was only so much information. The internet wasn't even close. We didn't have the Jennifer Diamonds of the world. We did. We had like 3 cookbooks, that was about it. So I had to learn how to cook this stuff. So like the foods that I start eating, and this goes under, I could do anything for 60 days, was like, I was eating broccoli and beans and peas, and I was like fruit. I like fruit. There's enough fruit out there. People should like fruit. It's sweet enough. The texture is good for some. Other people like different textures. But I was not a vegetable person. I mean, all these vegetables, I don't like vegetables. But after about 14 days of eating, I'm like, they're not that bad. I mean, here, mea culpa here, 13 years later, I don't love them. Like I had broccoli today twice. Broccoli's okay. I don't love it, but it's okay, and the mindset is that every time I eat broccoli, that's okay. I'm investing in my health. Well, that's a pretty good investment so far. So in 14 days of eating the foods I didn't really want, a miracle happened. My angina went away. And I'm like, wow, I don't have pain in my chest anymore. And I just kept doing it for the next, 45 days plus. And I was at like 230 pounds. My cholesterol at that point was 350, and all of a sudden in 60 days, I lost like 35 pounds. I was like losing all this crazy weight, and not sure I liked it or didn't like it. I kind of liked the big strong Paul more than the thinner, older Paul, but it is what it is. So, that was what was going on. So I said to myself, this is so amazing to me. I wonder how many people know about this benefit of nutrition over pills or procedures. And I said, I made a promise to God, and you can't lie to God. I mean, people might, but I can't do that because I may see him again, and then he'll remind me that I lied to him. And then what could happen? Who knows? Nobody really knows. But I don't want to find out. Okay. So I said, well, maybe what I need to do is I went to a Esselstyn cooking class. I got a receipt for like $750. I expensed it on my Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they denied me. I go, oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go after Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm going to get them to accept the invoice, because why wouldn't they? Why would they want to spend $125,000 for bypass surgery when they could just reimburse me for $750 and I could be healthy? And so for the next 3-4 weeks, as I'm convalescing still, each week I'd go up to a different level. I got to the highest level, and they said, we're denying it because you need a pay code. And in Michigan, oh, by the way, Michigan, the second biggest dairy state in the world, or in the United States, they said, you're going to have to get the Michigan legislature to okay the pay code. That's how it works. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that, because it's an hour and 35 minutes from my house. And while I went a couple times up there and talked to the senator's representative, and they liked the idea, they liked my idea, but they weren't going to vote against the dairy farmers of Michigan. So I came back home thinking, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to give something back? So just as I was starting to like get back to the real world of, like going out again and feeling, without the angina day to day, bringing my new lunch bag with me everywhere I went. And I said, well, maybe I'll do like a little ad in the paper, the local paper. So I put a $20 ad, and it was like 3-4 sentences. Hey, if you're interested in learning about the benefits of nutrition over pills and procedures, it might help you with heart disease, diabetes, and certainly lose weight. I'm going to give you an open house. Here's my email address. Let me know. Within 2 days, I said I have room for 20 people. In 2 days, I had 20 people email or call me and say, I want to come over. So here I was. I made food for 20 people, invited them over, opened up every little pantry door I had, showed them everything. The cool thing about that is, of the 20, 18 of them are still connected to me at Plant-Based Support. So they're volunteers, or they're still involved with me, because, they were my first, and we still love each other. So I said, well, maybe I'll do it again. So I did it one more time, a month later. Another 20 people within 4 days, came to my house. Same thing happened. So I thought, well, I'm onto something. This could be something really important and good. So I realized that they were asking a lot of nutritional questions. Again, remember, there wasn't, other than the China study and how to reverse prevent heart disease, there wasn't a whole lot of real strong information out there. I needed a cardiologist. So I called the heads of cardiology at the 3 major hospitals here in Michigan or Detroit area. And I said, give me 3. First of all, not easy for the head of cardiologist to call me, a nobody, back. But I'll never forget. My message was, hi, this is Paul. I've gone plant-based, and I think it's helped save my life. And I want to talk about it, but I'm not a doctor. Can you give me names of 3 lifestyle cardiologists that you would recommend? And if you don't respond back, I'm going to call you every single day the rest of my life. I'm just going to call you and call you and call you. Finally, I got 3 names. One name was repeating. It was Dr. Joel Kahn. Now, I had never heard of him, never met him, didn't know who he was. Went to his house, called him up. He says, come on over. We spent like 3 hours. And I'm like, I'm not calling the other 2. You're my guy. This is what I want to do. And he said, let's do it. And then he was associated with Beaumont Hospital. He said, I'll get you in the Beaumont Hospital, do it in one of their meeting rooms. So it had room for 80. We put, I had some of those volunteers go on a flyer campaign everywhere we could in like 2 or 3 counties. And we had, room for 80 people. We had 123 people show up. We said, whoa, let's do it again the next month. We had 143 people show up, different people. And then 2 days before the 3rd meeting, I get a message from Beaumont. Sorry, but we don't have a room big enough for you for, code reasons. We cannot give you the room. Well, the truth is They had a bigger room, but they were standard American diet hospital. So politically, we were kind of, like blowing out the windows and doors with people, and they weren't happy about it. So I called every church, synagogue, school within, a 30-mile radius. And I always tell people the Birmingham school systems opened up their doors and their hearts, and they've been with me doing all our live events ever since. So now we can rev it up a little bit. So we started Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group. Yes, it's a very long name. You should have seen the URL. But I thought, well, at least people know about it, and that's what it is. It's support. That's all we are. Because I can't underscore this enough, and I hope that we could all dive into it a little bit. But you go to a doctor, okay? The doctor says, well, first of all, you wish every doctor would take a nutrition class. They're still not doing it, okay? There should be a CPA class demanding all doctors do it. Not happening, okay? It should be taught in medical school. Not happening, okay? Not at one. I got it into Wayne State Medical School, and it hasn't gone global. Every doctor should be learning about nutrition, because the doctor's first question should always be, oh, wow, you're grossly overweight. Oh, you got diabetes. Oh, you got heart disease. Tell me what you eat. That's it. Pretty simple question, right? Because, the problem is doctors don't do that. But a few do or may. And for those people, you go there and you tell them what's going on. And he says, okay, well, I got 8 minutes. You're on the clock. Here we go. Why don't you give up this, go to skim milk, go to this, and go something like. They don't say give up meat, give up dairy, give up oil. Now, I'm going to just say this. The science has not changed in 13 years. I read the China study. I could read it tomorrow. Nothing has changed. There's been nothing new since forks over knives in the China study. No new revelations, no new big announcements. Why? Because the science was the science back then. It's the same today. Hasn't changed. If you eat whole food, plant-based, no oil, you will live a healthy life. That's what we're meant to eat. The problem is that very, very few people who are, let's say, 65 and under will decide to make that change. I'm proud to say one of my sons did it based on just the science that made sense, and he's thriving. On the other hand, I get to meet people most times when they're not feeling well. And if they commit to doing this, guess what happens? I get to see them flourish and feel better and get off their meds, lose weight. People ask me all the time, do you really reverse heart disease? You don't have to reverse it. Like if, let's say I have a 80% blockage, I go whole food plant-based. If it drops to 79% or 78%, that's a reverse. But it's not like, oh, you're going to be like 20%. It doesn't work like that. Okay. But small increases, big results. Okay. So I decided that we're going to do these monthly meetings. And I started every single month, we'd have a live event, and it started growing. And I'd had everybody you could ever think of in the plant-based world fly in, drive in, hang out with me 4 days. We'd go to all the medical schools. And, this was a much younger Paul Chatlin, because I would pick up at the airport, take him to the hotel, pick up in the morning, go to 3 different, schools, med schools, because they weren't being taught in school. So I wanted to have this moment at the medical schools around me. And then that night they would give their talk. The next morning I'd take them to the airport, give them a hug and kiss goodbye, and away they went. But we were starting to get 500 to 1,000 people at these events. It was incredible. And at the same time, we had something called small groups, which was little community groups that were starting to spread all over Michigan into the Midwest. We had 54. So you could kind of say it's kind of like the pod network of Nelson Campbell's, but we're still standing. We're still there. We're still doing it. Okay. And we've changed. I'll get to that in a little bit. So we were just humming along. Things were great. And then COVID hit. And immediately, we had to cancel a early February live event. I just didn't have it in my heart. I could not bring a speaker in with COVID going on. And we didn't know that much in early February. And I was like, God, I remember pining over, I cannot let anybody get sick while I'm, giving a talk. So we're going to cancel. Then we had to go to everything virtual during those crazy COVID times. And we kind of came out, and here we are, a combination now of we are virtual. We have some 26 live events on our channels every single month to support you in any way you could think of in this plant-based life. We are starting to do live events, and soon Plant-Based Support will be announcing an ambassador program, which is very similar to small groups, where we're going to equip you with all the tools on how to start your own small group or ambassador group or little plant-based group in your town. So that's ready to be announced very, very, very soon. I think if you say 4 berries, you have to do it real soon. Very soon, very, very soon. There, I'm good with 2. All right, so that's where we are today. And let me just kind of give you some ideas of, so we have 26 live events. And the reason why we do it, and we touch every single area of plant-based sport. And Jennifer, thank you for being one of those great people. I told people we are only as good as our kind, giving hosts, because the one thing I know for sure is this type of lifestyle change. Here I am 13 years later, and there's temptation everywhere. And I live in a house divided, and my family, only one other person's plant-based. And like I used to have 29 restaurants in the Metro Detroit area to choose from of plant-based options. We're down to 3. It just, and COVID really did everybody in on that one. So it's tough to travel. It's very tough to, go out to dinner at restaurants, and the truth be known is I call the restaurant. Here's how I do it. My family says, hey, we're going to go to this place. So I immediately have to spend the time, look up what they offer, just say, hey, can I bring my own food? Usually it's a no. And they say, okay, I see you got broccoli or baked potatoes or this. I said, with the broccoli, do you spray a little bit of oil when no one's looking on it? Do you spray a little bit of oil on the baked potato to make it look pretty? I don't want any of that, right? Now, I'm going to admit, everyone, announcement, I'm not an alcoholic. But my middle son said, one day you should learn to have a drink that you enjoy, because I never drank. And he made a beautiful old fashioned. So I have found that if I have one old fashioned with broccoli or baked potato, I become fun. Okay. So I'm not like sitting there going, oh, you're having this meal. I know it's not healthy, but I'm not having it. And I remember how much fun I had, because I live to eat. You didn't look like this by eating plants. Okay. You look like this by eating plants, or you. Now, so the organization, though, recently is about ready to make some big changes. First, we did recently change our name. And it used to be Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group. Now it's Plant-Based Support. Why? Because from that, we could say plant-based support. It could be ambassador program. It could be culinary. We could do a lot of different options with that. Number 2, we're about ready to automate everything we do. And I must admit, the automation is smarter than me. It's, I'm like, whoa. And I got some people, my 4 or 5 people who are working on it. They're like geniuses, like they're showing me. I got my own persona, and I got this fake Paul who almost looks like me, and it's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. And hey, for all you older people, because my mother-in-law drives me bat crazy. She's shut down all computers because it's too much for her. Just try, look at it like a hobby. Okay, just try and do a text. Try something new. You could always hit that back button. Don't forget, back button is your friend. Okay. So we are doing those things. And then we're going to be making some changes where I'm going to announce Brian Denstead as our president. We've got both Jessica, Chief Operating Officer, and Christy. We've got Brett. We've got a whole bunch of just committed, great people. And I realized about 1.5 years, 2 years ago that I'm getting older, and I owe it to that next generation to let go. Now, I'm not letting go. I'm just letting the next generation carry the torch. So that's kind of where we are today. It's exciting times, and we are the only national support organization, and we have something going. And our goal is to have not 26 activities a month. We want to have 60. We want you morning, afternoon, and night to be able to lock in to like-minded people. And if you're having a rough day, we want to hear about it. We are a nutritional education organization, and I can't underscore enough, without judgment. Okay.
Love that. I love that.
Period. Because somebody will say, well, I was good for 2 days, but then yesterday I had this. Okay, well, hey, let's spend time on your 2 days. What was good about those 2 days? How'd you feel about yourself after 2 days? What was the trigger as to why you had something else? And usually it's like a friend said, hey, we're going to go out, or I got lazy. Hey, this plant-based lifestyle, it's work 24/7. Now, I'm going to give everyone a couple hints. For me, regular dude, nothing special guy, all I wanted to do is let the world know about nutrition before pills or procedures. I have simplified my life where I have the same breakfast and lunch virtually every single day of my life. How can I do that? Well, I realize that food is just something I need and not something I dream about like I, used to dream about food. I mean, truly, everything was, hey, what you doing for breakfast? Hey, what you doing for lunch? What you doing for dinner? Now it's like, okay, I'm gonna have oatmeal with this fruit. Oh, I'm kind of full. I'm cool. And then it's, oh, what do you have for lunch? Oh, either broccoli or a big, beautiful salad of kale. And everyone get ready. Here's my awesome salad dressing recipe. I take 2 parts of I take half an orange, squeeze it. I take half a lime, squeeze it. And you could play with the amounts because it took me a while to kind of figure out what I like the most. I take a little bit of garlic chopped up and a little bit of pepper and red onions, and you could add anything you want. And then this is the favorite part. I take the kale, clean it off, and I have a lot of kale, like a bushel and a half of kale. And I work it, I massage it, I touch it. Yeah, I love it. Okay, you could add more. You could add more. You could add Swiss chard. You could add other things, collard greens, whatever. I'm a kale dude. I like kale's fine. So I got this bowl. I should have brought it with me, but it's like if you could appreciate, it's like it's this big. It's a huge bowl, and I graze on it all day. And dinner time is my challenge. It truly is. But I'm thankful that I know how to batch cook. I know how to read directions. So I batch cook my soups and some of my meals. But I got a couple of chef buddies during the 29 restaurants that we had. I made friends. Like you don't just walk into a place and say, hey, would you please become a plant-based offering for somebody? It took me 4 meetings and all these suggestions, but it was kind of cool. And some of them became friends and some of them need work. So I get them to chef me some food. And, I just tell them, hey, lentils. I got my friend over at Taste of Ethiopia. Give me 5 pounds of lentils. That's a lot of meals for me, right? With, some whole wheat no oil bread. So long story of the short story is the plant-based support is your place to go, because when you leave that doctor's office and he says, hey, cut down this, here 2-3 more scripts, or we'll change this. And then you say, well, I'm plant-based, but tomorrow I'm all alone. Well, I don't have any family support generally, friends support. Where am I going to go? You come to plant-based support. We will be your support family. And that's how it has to be, because as I started when I first started talking with you, this is a tough thing to do. But if you do it first, after a short amount of time, you start feeling great. If you do it the rest of your life, you're going to live a nice, long life. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my story. I think I always miss stuff, but that's
No, I got to tell you, I hadn't heard it from you before, and I really appreciate you going into the whole, the whole journey. I personally got goosebumps and started to, feel like I was going to cry when you were talking about how this unfolded with Dr. Esselstyn. I mean, it's a miracle. That's amazing that you were over here and just how that unfolded.
Well,
And then
let me say that the reason why my cardiologist was connected to Dr. Esselstyn is because he was his mentor in medical school. So he took a class from Dr. Esselstyn. So, but you're right. It was like, how to get to the Cleveland Clinic, how to get assigned this guy, how did this guy turn me on to Esselstyn? It was like crazy. It was crazy.
amazing.
So I'm like, how could I not do something? And, but so, 13 years later, here we are together, you and me.
Yeah. We have Eric saying, first met Paul at plant-based support meeting in Birmingham, June 1st, 2017. That night, I met Dr. Khan and M. Mackey. Thank you
Oh,
with
yeah.
gratitude there.
Thanks
And
for being on
also,
this. Yeah.
yeah, and Eric said, today's my birthday, hand pinky waving, and I want to say happy birthday. And it's also my son's birthday. So that's super cool. And hopefully you're going to be enjoying your birthday with plants and having a lot more birthdays to come.
You know what we could do? This is what I do because with the grandkids, if I can't see them that day, happy birthday to you. Yeah.
Yay, happy
And by the way,
birthday
you'll get a kick out of this.
to
You know, this has been the year of things changing in my life. So, for example, I must admit to you that like I had to get a bridge on my teeth. So, cute little story is eighth grade, teeth get knocked out. They put a root canal and put a cap in. My teeth were different colors my whole life. I didn't care. I didn't care until last week when they put in the bridge. Now I'm smiling.
You got a beautiful smile.
I know.
Awesome.
It's like, what was I thinking? You know, I never smile. Oh, I smile. No, I don't want to smile. Why? Because my teeth are different. Now,
Very, very nice. I love it. I love it. I got a few comments I want to read and more questions if you're okay with that. So,
yeah, I
John,
got a couple more things to share
yeah,
with you.
John Jew says, wow, Paul, a true miracle story. So blessed. Congratulations.
Thank you,
And
John.
yes, and Apple a Day is in the house, and she said, graze on it all day, in quotes. Love it. And don't
Hey,
we all?
Apple. That's when I knew I needed a new I needed a bridge. I bit into an apple with my old teeth, and I'm like, oh, that really hurt. I have problems. Thank you, Apple. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I just want to go back to the meals for a minute. You started to talk about that a typical day for you isn't a rotation of different kinds of meals. You talked about, you have oatmeal for breakfast and then a big salad or broccoli or something for lunch. And that you said that dinner, is more challenging. Can you share what maybe a dinner looks like, and also what is challenging about that part of the day for you, and how do you handle it?
Well, it was challenging for a long time, but basically the good Lord gave me the ability to make a few bucks. So I would hit up my chefs at the plant-based world, and I'd say, hey, today I want Indonesian food, and I'd go to Indo restaurant, and I would I'd eat there, and then I would order ahead and say, hey, give me about 100 pot stickers
Yes.
to
Okay.
go. I'd freeze them, right? And they freeze great. And I learned how to make the dipping sauce, which is silken tofu with sriracha. That's it. There you go. That's your dipping sauce. Pretty simple. So I still continue to do that. But on the like today, it's kind of yucky here in Michigan. It's cold and rainy. So this would be a typical day where I'd sit there and say, well, I'm going to make a barley soup or a vegetable soup. I'm going to do something. Now, I don't love cooking. Like I love eating, but I don't love cooking. I don't like anything about cooking. I just don't, because I screw it up. I have to use twice as many pots. Um, I only got one big pot, and it's I got to clean it. Like when it's done, I got to clean all this stuff, and then I got to make sure I freeze it. It's a 4 hour, 3 hour exercise, and I don't like it.
So
So
for people that aren't good at cooking or don't want to do it, like you're saying, if you can afford it, that's a really great thing that you just shared, is that you can go and get to know some of the local restaurants and see if you buy in bulk, would they be willing, how does that even work? All of a sudden and not all of a sudden, you said you had to meet with them 4+ times, but how do you get them to, in addition to what they have to do, now they're going to make you pot stickers to put in your freezer or whatnot? Like, how can somebody that's watching right now try to do that where they are?
all right,
How do we do this?
first of all, start with looking at vegan restaurants, and then remind them you don't take on oil. And then you say, "Oh, I can't cook. I can't make you something because I use oil." No, vegetable broth. Slowly bleed the onions would be fine. If you feel a little cool, you could have a little wine if you wanted, or how about just water? Like take your pick. Okay, because I want to taste the exact taste that a pepper, tomato, green apple, orange, and squash and celery and carrots look like. I'm just having fun with your counter. So that's what you do. Number one. So look at the vegan chefs, and simply put, hey, these restaurants, they like money. So you go there, you spend the evening, you have a nice meal, you call ahead and say, I want to also do a carryout. And if you could only do 2 meals or 5 meals, but if you go to the same place every time, they'll gladly give you 10 meals. And if you do that, and by the way, here's the coolest thing about plant-based food. It freezes forever, right? So I had to go buy a new freezer, just to store my stuff, So I was like showing off to people, hey, you want to see my stock? Here, take a look.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, so if you enjoy cooking and enjoy the experience, the good news is from the day I started to today, there's so many cookbooks. I'm lucky enough that a lot of people say, hey, Paul, I want you to look at my cookbook. Our organization has a perfectly plant-based, no oil cookbook on our website. No oil cookbook. No one else has that. But there's also what's more than 100, like a 10 billion. There's so many cookbooks out there. And with this crazy GPS or GPT or with the internet, you could say, what do I feel like today? I want to have, and then fill in the blank. And you could get the recipe, and all you have to do is alter it to be plant-based. And it's really, really close, like really close. So cooking is not a problem if you enjoy cooking. And if you don't, start with vegan restaurants and talk to the chefs because they love to do that stuff.
I love it. I love it. Now, you had mentioned to me that you wanted to talk about lipoprotein little a. Can you go ahead and explain what does that even mean, and what did you want to share about that?
Well, thank you for bringing that up and reminding me. The joy of getting a tad older is you forget. Oh, what were you saying? That's okay. All right. So here I was, plant-based, feeling great. By the way, cholesterol 347 when I first started. It got down to 77 with a plant-based diet. Angina has gone. And then 2 years ago, I started getting the angina again. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to freely admit to everybody, when it happened, I knew exactly what it was. I'm like, how can this be? I'm supposed to be heart attack proof, right? Supposed to be. So I've been very lucky that over the years, I've met a great many of brilliant doctors. And Joel Kahn to this day is still, I call a brother. He's a friend of mine. And I don't mind saying that, we have opposite views on a lot of different things. But my challenge was, let's throw away the politics or the opinions because we care about each other. Let's just stay in that lane of caring for each other. So when this happened, he said, have you had your lipoprotein little a checked? Well, nobody's ever talked about that. That was brand new to the world. And just recently, doctors are learning about it. Again, I wish I could give you the big sciencey explanation, but it's basically a secondary plaque factory that your body makes. So my number, the correct number, just like your cholesterol number should be like under, it's funny. They raised the cholesterol number so it's like 180 so they could qualify a lot of people. But clearly your LDL should be under 50 and your total number should be under 100 if you really want to be truthfully, healthy. So in the LP little a world, your number should be under 50. Now, here's the interesting part of it. You're born with it. It is genetic. And at the age of 2 to the age of 65, when I discovered I had angina and I needed to get tested with a lipid panel. So today I'm here to say to everybody who's listening, go to your doctor, ask for a lipid panel for LP little a. It is the same relative number as it was when you were a little baby. And the number should be under 50. Mine was 350. So it's no wonder. So what did I do when I found that out? Well, first, I had to go back to the Cleveland Clinic and get a stent. And when I got that stent, I must admit to everybody, mentally, I was not in a good place for about 3 months, because when I made the change to plant-based, it affected everybody. It affected me in a good way and a bad way. You know, I'm saying both ways. I mean, health-wise, great. Adding so many hours of concern of where am I going to eat? What am I going to have into my life? But it affected everybody I love, everybody I cared about. Because now it's, oh, Paul, you can bring your own food, or Paul, what are you going to have? It's just all that stuff that goes with it. And I thought I was heart attack proof. I thought I'd put everybody through it. So here I was needing to get a stent, got the stent. Good news is the stenting in the last few years, if you get a stent today, as long as you stay plant-based, that stent is going to be good for the rest of your life. I'm 65. That's what my team said, that the stent technology is phenomenal. I hope that's true. So go get a lipid panel test from your cardiologist or general doctor. Anytime you get a blood test, it costs like $35. I would underscore and recommend to everybody, always get a lipid panel done every few years anyway, to see where your numbers are compared to where they should be. And if you feel a little sluggish, maybe you need more iron. But a general blood test is not going to tell you. A urine test is not going to tell you. Get a lipid panel. It's a little pricey, so ask ahead of time. But if you want to know exactly just what the cost is, it's like $35 for LP little a, lipoprotein little a test. But I got some good news for everybody. The good news is that help is on the way. I was asked to be part of a phase 3 study of one of 3 pharmaceutical companies, Amgen, Norvitis, Norvis, whatever, and then another one, whatever they are, A, B, and C, whatever they are. And, one thing I know about pharmaceutical companies is when they're like sharks. When they sniff a little bit of blood, which means green money, they're all in, and so you've got 3 companies. They've already done phase 2 testing with like 100 people, and all the results that they're getting from their vaccine of the LP little a, or their shot, is very positive. One's seeing 70% results, some seeing 80%, some seeing 90%. Now, I was asked to be part of a 6,000 person study of people around the world. So every 3 months, I go to the hospital. I give a couple gallons of blood. They shoot me in my stomach. Yeah, do I like it? No. But it's all part of giving back on this planet. You give back and being an example to my friends and family. So I am 1 more year left in the study. And it's my hope that in about 2 years, one of the 3 companies will come to market. And if you find out your score is over 50, you can now go. And by the way, everybody, do not expect your doctor to be your biggest advocate. I now say to everybody who's listening, you be your own advocate, your own health advocate, okay? Because with all the computer information that's out there, while each one's a little slanted, there's so much cool information that you could be not a doctor, not a nurse, but you could ask better questions and be your own advocate. So good news is help is on the way with lipoprotein little a. If your numbers are crazy bad, send me an email. Excuse me for just a second. I purchased hydrogenated water, by the way. Look at that.
Ooh.
Lava
Oh,
lamp.
wow. Look at that.
Yeah, when I talk too
I'll have
much.
a sip with you.
Here's to you, Jennifer. Boom.
Cheers. Yes. Everybody have a sip of water.
Wow, my throat's dry. Okay, so that's what happens when you talk too much, Paul. Just a FYI, this I'm not repping, and I'm accepting all kind donations for my struggling nonprofit. Can you believe it? I got the biggest nonprofit support organization on the planet, and I have no big sponsors, no big donators, and I do it because I started with $120,000 my own money and said, hey, that's what it costs for a bypass, so I'll just fund it.
Oh, wow.
And then our membership just kind of breaks even every month. But I'm hoping that today's the day that someone cuts me a little bit bigger check so I could hire one more person after another and get this word out there. That all being said, Hydrogenated water is something I think everyone should look into. I'm not pimping it. I'm not selling it. I'm not sponsoring it, but just check it out because it takes my basic water out of my tap and makes it Fuji water by the Glow.
By the Glow. Interesting. Yeah, we'll have to check on that. Did you
Yeah.
say that you wanted to?
Oh yeah. If you want,
you?
yeah. Thank you for keeping me on point. If you're like my virtual wife or something. Sorry. Keep me on point. If they find out their number is crazy high, let's say crazy high is 100 or more, you could send me an email and it's paul@plantbasedsupport.org or connect@plantbasedsupport.org. And I will send you an elixir of supplements that I used before I became part of that study that at least allowed me, even though it was crazy, taking 18 supplements a day, I was able to lower my LP(a) number by about 50%. It still got me in the bad range, but it did help. It did improve it. So just let me know, paul@plantbasedsupport.org. Thank you so much.
And we have it right there on the bottom. And that is a very generous offer for you to offer to anyone watching who's going to take your advice. The lipid protein (a), I wonder if any insurance covers that, because you talked about cost, but so I would say check with your insurance company. Is that fair to say? And maybe yours will cover it. And if not, you kind of have an idea of the cost.
Well, ever since I became part of that Medicare ARP family, I'm like, wow, there's so many things that they do cover. So I would think they would. I mean, I'm going to be taking a trip pretty soon, and I got like every vaccine in the world because I'm going to go travel the world for a while. And it was funny how Medicare paid for it. So I'm going with the idea that they'll take care of, but it's a good idea to always call ahead. Why not, right?
Yes, definitely. And so you also were wanting to talk about, unless you've already mentioned, but what's changed in 14 years? And is that what you're talking about relevant to doctors' lack of support, or are those two different things that you wanted to touch on?
It's funny. I talk to people all the time. They'll say, "Oh, this plant-based movement," and I kind of chuckle. It's not a movement. I'm sorry, people. A movement is when it's moving somewhere. When it's going in a positive direction, in a positive way, with a positive outcome. I mean, the fact is, I think that the plant-based world was a lot stronger before COVID. And you look at all the companies that have unfortunately had to go under. Plant Pure Nation went under. There's so many chefs that's just stopped, so many plant-based restaurants. My friend Joel Kahn had a phenomenal restaurant that went, under. I mean, there's been so many stories of this. And, I just think that the question is it why? Like, what's changed in 14 years? Well, I would have hoped that more as I mentioned earlier, more med schools would just teach it. Just give me double the 4 hours, make it 8 hours for doctors, because I admit I am positive. Okay, shocking. And I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer. And I think, hey, if something is right, you do it. And my goodness, if we could save people without putting them on pills or doing procedures, it's crazy that it's not being taught in school. That should be the first line of defense for every medical person on the planet. Now, that all being said, they're not alone, because I go to the hospitals all the time to talk to people. First thing I always do is take pictures of their cafeteria and the food they're offering. Oh my God, I think like 98% of it is ultra processed.
Yes.
It's like, you're a hospital. Like, hello, how can that be, right?
I hear you, because I was recently in a hospital for a family member, and beautiful cafeteria, Mayo Clinic, right?
Yeah.
And I had to go to the car to bring my food in. So,
well, it was funny because when I went to the Cleveland Clinic for the stent, I had to spend. They wanted to kick me out after a while because I was being not a nice patient, but very nice to the nurses. But there's a point where I've just said, I'm ready to go. They want to keep me for another 2 hours. Man, let's go home. I'm tired. All right. But they fed me this like food, and I said, I'm plant-based. So they gave me like this disgusting. I'm like, can't eat it, can't eat it, can't eat it. Can't. Like, you're a hospital, and you just put a stent in me. Like, and you give me the food that caused the stent. Like, what?
Yeah.
Not in this case because it was LP, but generally speaking. So I'm just saying that, like, there hasn't been, in my mind, a world-changing movie since Forks Over Knives. How many years has that been?
Oh, that's going back quite a bit.
The
I don't
China study,
Yeah.
and our hero, Dr. Colin Campbell, when he wrote the China study, has there been a new book with new findings since? No.
Not like
So,
that, no.
yeah, so I'm saying that, not much has changed, but I could see where an organization like ACLM that boasts 14,000 lifestyle doctors, they're working on things from maybe a high governmental side. But the other day I contacted them and I said, hey, you should have every 14,000 doctors support plant-based support, because when your doctor says goodbye to the patient, where are they going? And they're not quite ready for us. And quite honestly, we're not ready for them. We would have to do a lot more internally. Ching, ching. That means we need more money to do it, but we're going to get there. God Almighty, he's had me on this journey for 13 years. He is. And by the way, I don't need to see the promised land. Okay. I don't, I'm a grinder. I just want to build it. And right now I'm starting to hand it off to the next generation. So that's the way it should be. That's the way it is. But I'm hoping that there'll come a time where the power of ACLM says, hey, you're right. Let's work together. I started the Sage Circle Alliance 3 years ago with Meryl Fury, who cares about child nutrition, because the two groups of people who don't have a voice are children and older people. They're the discarded ones. And we had this idea that you take the first top 15 speakers in the world, you could list them, take the top 20. They're all doing fine. They're all sponsored. They're making money. They're writing books. They're doing all this cool stuff. And by the way, love them all, because even if I don't like you, you're helping people. And if you help people, I like you. Okay. That's how it works. That makes sense. The point being is that there's another group like yourself, and there's another 100 people out there that are food for life instructors, that are plant-based teachers, coaches, and they're all just getting by, or they're struggling, or they're quitting to go back to the other world, the unhealthy world, because it's not paying for it. So I said, let's do a plant-based union. Well, we could all, buy from ourselves, work for ourselves. I spent 2 years with Meryl, and after 2 years, the thing that catches all companies is we just didn't find it. We applied for grants, didn't get them. We were hoping for sponsors, didn't get them. And at some point, the chairman of my life's board, which is my wife, said, enough already. You already did it once. You don't have to do this again. And I took the best pieces of Sage Circle Alliance and brought it onto, she doesn't know that. Yes, she does. Onto the plant-based support platform. So that's why we're, bringing all our friends, having more support groups and sessions and stuff like that. I met them all at the Sage Circle Alliance. I just brought them over to help us with plant-based support. So that's a little bit about my hope is that an ACLM is going to do something, maybe a medical school with Dr. Clapper's hard work and effort, who unfortunately has not been able to, get it through the doors. I know what it took. We got it at Wayne State. I know what it takes. Not easy. Like it's so political. Like it's like politics are more important than doing what's right. Well, then something's wrong.
Yeah, I understand, and I commend everything you're doing. We've got a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
I'm going to read. Apple a Day says, "Ha ha ha! I'm a difficult patient too, so you're not alone." My husband is the same way.
Yeah, I just like they're worried about HIPAA, or worried about their oh, we're going to give you a couple more hours to no, I feel good. I'm plant-based. I feel good. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So I just time to go. My wife's just like, oh, here you go.
Well, I want to ask you, if, actually I have two questions. Let's see if we can do them quickly. For someone watching who's feeling stuck, maybe they're struggling to stay consistent, or maybe they're feeling alone on the journey, wherever they are, that they're feeling kind of stuck. What words of encouragement would you offer to someone watching that's
real quickly? First, we do a 14-day trial to join us. It's a whopping $10 a month. You are so worth $10 a month and a lot more. And then you could ask all the questions. We have Go Ask the Nutritionist, Go Ask the Doctor, be part of our family. Okay, $10 a month. You can quit anytime. I mean, probably I'm not a good businessman, but that's how. Here's the biggest thing. Here's the biggest thing. Don't beat yourself up. Like, listen, I'm going to let everybody know, like, I'm not perfect. There's moments I could think of, a handful of moments over this 13 years where I've crossed the line just because, oh, let me have a bite of this. And when I do suffer. I do suffer the next day. Like, I really do. It's amazing. Like when you're not used to it, right? But temptation's all around us. So if you do cross that line, just tell yourself, okay, I did. Then get back on it again and keep trying to get back on it every single time. It's when you give up is when you lose. You know, this is tough. I've told everybody, this is very, very, very difficult, but you're worth it. But don't beat yourself up. Life is tough enough these days. You know, life is beating us up. We don't need to beat ourselves up. You know what
I
I'm
love
saying? That's
that.
how I look at it.
Yes,
You know?
thank you. That's a wonderful thing to say, and I think that that's great encouragement. So you mentioned that it's to join plant-based support. You can go to plantbasedsupport.org, and you can get you said 14-day trial, or it's a $10 paid membership monthly, which is very, very minimal cost. And what you get in there is like amazing. You've mentioned,
We get you.
so many support groups. I am involved. I feel very blessed and privileged. And there are so many other wonderful speakers so go
Yeah,
ahead and do it. That's why I wanted you on the channel, because I'm
hey,
like, I love
how
what
about
you're
this?
doing.
We have the support hosts like Jennifer, everybody, but I made sure that while I'm taking this little time out, 2026, you will see the greatest array of virtual speakers. So if you give me a name, they're going to be talking. You know, the only people that I haven't gotten in contact with, no, I think I've talked to everybody but Dean Ornish. I'm working on him right now. So everyone I asked, give me just 1 hour a year. That's it. So we're going to intersperse support with speaker events and live events. That's the plan for 2026.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. I mean, I volunteer to do this. I'm not making money. This is just to help you're charging a membership to help grow it and help share and spread the word. And so it's a wonderful organization to be involved with. So last question is, and you kind of already talked about this, but is there anything else that you haven't talked about as far as what's next for plant-based support, or maybe where do you see the community growing in the next few years?
Okay.
And if people want to get involved to be a part of it, like,
Yeah, if you, we're looking for on our website with the automation that we have, you can now sign up if you want to be a volunteer. Okay, we need volunteers. We love volunteers. Okay, and we're not asking you to do a whole lot. Just give us your time or your expertise. We appreciate that. That's what we need. And then we're going to be introducing this ambassador program. So if, let's say, you are in what city are you in, Jennifer? What city are you in?
oh, I'm in Mesa in Arizona.
Oh my God, beautiful Mesa. Okay, Mesa Verde, Mesa. Yeah, I got you. Okay, Mesa. So let's say you probably everyone knows you in Mesa, but if they don't, and you wanted to have, let's say, a little support group in the city of Mesa, you'd fill out this little form, the ambassador program, and then we'd send you all this information, and we'd consult you and counsel you, and you would find this place, and it'd be like a meetup, but we're calling it the ambassador program. And you could start your own plant-based support group out in Mesa. So,
so people, you're going to be rolling that out, and that's for anyone could do that anywhere, and then they have the support
yeah,
from you guys. So you're not like saying go off and just do this idea. You're actually going to be supporting in all kinds of ways with all kinds of strategies and help. And how big is this going to be? Nationwide, worldwide? Like, what's the goal?
global.
Woo! I love it.
If we could do something on Mars, I think we try.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
But it
And
doesn't pay to be on Mars right now. There's no money.
and John Jew says, Paul, thank you so much. Your journey is so inspiring. Appreciate your work.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you to anybody who listened to it. And Jennifer, I appreciate you, and I'm honored that you had me on. And I'm willing to be your servant anytime you call upon me.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing all about your story and how it helped you become a healthier, happier you, and all about plant-based support and the work that you and the organization do for so many people all over the nation and beyond, right? I really appreciate it, and you. And I know, so many people are going to be inspired to keep going on their journey, whether it's just getting started, maybe you fell off the bandwagon like you spoke about, just get back up, or you just want to be involved with like-minded people, which is amazing to do, especially as we go into the holiday season. So if you feel alone, you want support, especially as we enter that, then again, go to plantbasedsupport.org. And thank you again for this inspiring and informative.
It's great meeting you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And so any last words before we sign off?
Happy holidays. Okay. Be nice to your wife. Hey, you guys, be nice to your wife every day.
I love that. And well, like I always say, don't forget to eat your greens and give plants a chance. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye now.